Welcome, my friend Diane Haworth. I'm so excited to see you this morning. Thank you so much for joining me on this relatively new interview series that I call Reinventing Greatness Interviews with Inspiring Leaders.
Well, that's a title, and I appreciate I appreciate the fact that you thought about me. This is going to be a lot of fun, and you and I, of course, talk all the time. I think there's something really fun and magical about inviting people into our conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, you've been so gracious to interview me several times. You're always interviewing other people. You're always asking questions, and I want to talk to you. I want to hear about Diane, and I don't want to just hear about Diane's wisdom on this, that, and the other. I want to hear about Diane, the person, before you kind of emerged into this goddess of love. So before we jump into that, I want to share your bio with folks, and so impressive. So I'm going to read it, and so I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Diane L. Haworth is a heart-centered success coach, also my very, very dear friend, if you haven't figured that out yet. At least 10 years, probably transcending lifetimes, I'm sure.
I agree.
She's a heart-centered success coach, a speaker, an author, an Awake TV network host, and founder of Be Love Principles, who combines traditional coaching techniques with deep spiritual truths to help clients enjoy lives of more love, peace, joy, and freedom. Love that. Diane holds a BS in Mass Communications, an MBA, and has earned several healing and coaching certifications. She's been actively studying personal development and ancient wisdom traditions since 1995 and has had her own business since 2007. She is a student of the Enneagram, A Course in Miracles, and modern neuroscience. She's also the author of How to Choose Love When You Just Want to Slap Someone. It's on Amazon. It's wherever books are sold. It's great. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
So I'm curious, you obviously have this varied background of all kinds of things, and one of the things that you said to me the other day that just cracked me up. I actually wrote this down because you said I think the most special thing about me is that there's nothing special about me. I've been married, divorced, remarried, a working wife, mother, cared for ill parents, and realized my life wasn't working and found the courage to change it. So say more, tell us about that a little bit.
I'll just say from my perspective, I have always been led to teachers, coaches, people who inspire me, who are doing this messy work of being human. That's it. They're in messed up relationships. They are in jobs where they don't feel like they quite fit, but they found a way to look at their lives, see where it doesn't fit, and shift to a place where they are happier, feel loved and loving. And I always knew that's what we were here to do, to be, to have, but it just took me decades, quite frankly, to figure out how to get there. And I'm still on the path. That's what I love about our friendship, is that we're always talking about those daggone rocks we trip over on the path and how we can get up.
Right. These rocks. Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes
Boulders. Well, so speaking of rocks, I mean, would you share an example of a rock that you've had to deal with on your journey so far?
Okay, so there's been like avalanches, but one of the things that I thought was really set the stage for a lot of my life, especially as a young adult. I remember being right out of college and just, of course, thinking, the world was going to be a path to my door. Not so much, but I did have a wonderful interview with a company that was well respected. On paper, everything was great. I enjoyed the person that I was going to be working for, the person who interviewed me. The setting, the environment of this particular job seemed fine. The money was good. You had insurance. So everything on paper was exactly what I thought it would be. But boy, something inside said, don't do it. This isn't the place for you. Don't do it. And of course I went, forget it, heart. My head knows what's going on. And it was a disaster. I just wasn't in the right place. So that was one of the first times I remembered really being aware of this battle between my heart and my head. What I did figure out was every time there was a boulder in my path, like a relationship that quite frankly wasn't working, and all the signs were there, and in my head it was like, no, I can make this work, we can make this work, we can, it just prolonged the inevitable. And every time I would listen to my heart, and by heart I'm talking about the inner wisdom that you and I talk about all the time, that part of all of us that's connected to the divine intelligence of everything there is, that's when my life got easier. And a lot of people that might be listening to this might think, well, an easy life isn't all that fun. It was a lot more fun than crawling over the boulders. And what I noticed was it just was more, there was more ease, more grace, there was more fun. I felt more peaceful. I felt more free. So that's just like the biggest lesson of my life. I just had to go over lots of boulders. And some of them I chose. Taking care of ill parents, that was a choice. And I don't regret that at all. But that's a choice I made. Not everybody makes that choice. And there's no judgment with that. It's just we all make choices on how we're going to live our lives. That was one of mine. That was a big boulder.
That was a really big boulder. Yeah. And I'm curious because I mentioned, you said you found the courage to change it. That was something as well. So when you're talking about listening to your heart, certainly I get that too. How do you have the courage? What role does courage play in listening to your heart? Like, how do you know it's, and how do you overcome it? Because a lot of people have these desires and they want to listen to their heart, and but they get stopped by fear, or they don't have the courage, or so how do you how do you build courage? What does courage mean? What does it look like, and how do you get it?
Well, I think there's a couple components to that, actually. Fear and I were big buddies, like for literally decades, the whole last century, by the way. Just, we were besties. It wasn't a fun life, but it was one I was very familiar with. For me, things started to change when I started to meditate. And through that process of meditation, what I found was that the voices in my head, which were all fear-based, or I would say 99% were fear-based, started to lessen. And these messages that were coming up from my heart were easier to discern and then follow. For me, courage is more about, really, courage is just taking action on what you know to be true anyway. I mean, to me, that's what that implies. There's been many, many times in my life that I knew what I should do and I didn't do it. It was more comfortable. I thought it was safer to stay stuck in my little bubble. But I was miserable in that particular bubble, whichever one it happened to be. So for me, getting quiet was the key to changing my entire life, everything, health, relationships, career, everything. It was getting quiet so that I could hear and see past this external noise. From that point, courage was really just where, it's like we talk about in the Course in Miracles. How do you want to live your life? You want to live it from fear? Or do you want to live it from love? So it didn't seem so courageous at the time. It just made more sense to me because I was in a more grounded place. Does that make sense?
Well, it totally makes sense. And so you start to clear away the noise, you start to clear away the distraction, the fear, and you land. I call it, for me, it feels like landing into this place of knowing and this total clarity. And then you still have to do something. So how do you muster it up to, like you said, as courage is taking action? What drives you to take that action, and what kind of action do you take? Is it a big step, a baby step? I mean, what does that look like for you?
I think it just depends on the situation. When my dad became ill, we didn't get an email 3 months ahead of time that said, hey, just want you to know your whole life's going to stop on March 17th. You need to, get all your affairs in order. That's not what happened. So in a case like that, I think that it's always your internal moral compass. It's what is your idea of success. For me, it's always been being supportive of my family. So there was no question. That pivot was going to be, what does he need now? And how do my brother and sister and I in the family, what do we do? So there was just that internal moral compass. And I already knew, I'd already made the decision that in my life, family was important. And that was one of the drivers. That was also a driving factor in other decisions I made, that while the decision might be very uncomfortable for me, really scary for me, when I knew it was the best decision for my kids, then that's the right word too, I allowed the truth of that to pull me through the uncomfortable situations. Because you and I are both entrepreneurs, that everybody thinks, this is like a fun gig. And in a lot of ways, it's fantastic. But you got a lot of other stuff that comes up. So to let the passion of your purpose pull you through those uncomfortable situations, to me, makes the difference. Understanding what your ultimate goal is. And for me, if my ultimate goal was peace, and it absolutely was, then I knew to achieve that, I had to meditate every day. That's what worked for me. Just like if I wanted to get my MBA, I had to go through economics. And if any of y'all are on the line here that went with me through economics, you know how that was. It was ugly, but I got through it. I got pulled through it by all my buddies, by the way.
I hear a lot of stick-to-itness, this whole perseverance, and gosh darn it, I'm gonna do this, and I'm committed. I think I'm hearing a lot of commitment as well.
Well, I would say absolutely commitment, but I want to be really honest. It's not that many times I thought I was on a tightrope and I was like this, right? It wasn't just smooth sailing. I'm committed. Everything's working out great. No, that's not the way it worked. For me, it's all about one foot in front of the other. If this is my long-term goal, then what do I do today? And my actions today, does it bring me closer to or further away from my goal? That's all there is to it. Is this going to bring me closer? Is it going to bring me further away? And sometimes you need to take a break from whatever it is. Sometimes good self-care is going to ultimately bring you closer to your goals, if we're talking career goals.
Yeah, super. So, so, so important. I love what you're saying. So what is your purpose now?
I think my personal opinion is everybody has the same purpose, and that is to live the love that they are on the planet. I think the way we do that can morph over time. So when I was younger, my purpose was to be a good mom, to be a good wife, to be a good daughter, and help shepherd my parents through the last years of their life when they were having medical issues. I think that was part of it. Service has always been something that I've loved. I shared with you, I had my first job when I was 9 years old, babysitting. I just love helping, serving people. What's happening for me now is just helping people understand that eternal wisdom is available for everybody. It's just available for everybody because it's in everybody. And most people like me did not know. We weren't raised that way. We didn't know how to tap into that. And I want to help people live lives that they love. To me, that is talking about divine love and teaching about it and writing about it and asking people like you, how do you choose love? I just think it's the most exciting thing ever. And I think it's really something that most people don't give a lot of thought to. And that's what I want to change. I want people to be consciously thinking, how do I bring love to this situation? And how does love move me forward?
I love that. Love it, love it, love it. So you have developed the Be Love principles. So maybe share a little bit about what the Be Love principles are, and if you're willing, about how they came to be. That's a really fascinating story.
Well, that's another one of those where I'm just going through life, do-de-o-do, just everything's cool. Everything's fine. I have a practice of prayer every day, meditation. And I pray, show me how to serve. Just show me how to serve, show me how to be an instrument of love, right? And one day I was in a class and I was asking a question that I ask almost every day when I journal. Love, what do you most want me to know today? And usually I get like, 2 or 3 sentences, maybe a phrase. And on this particular day, I got what I call a divine download. And I was told to be love and given a process on how to do that. And I'll talk about that in a second. I really appreciate you asking about it. One of the things I wanted to just, again, be really honest about, I realized in retrospect, when I was praying, show me how to be of service, I thought, maybe I could go to the shelter, pet some kittens. That'd be cool. I had no idea what was in store for me, which I think is part of the whole divine plan, I think. So I'm told to be love. And because I need processes, I need like a little template. I got given in this vision, I got given a process. 4 steps. Greet everyone with an open heart without an agenda. The second is see the divine essence in everyone. The third is forgive quickly, completely, and unconditionally. And the fourth in this process is remember you are the light. You never left the light of the all. So through this process of asking to be of service, having this experience, I am, as best I can, following my heart on how to use that template to help myself and others. It always starts first here, I think, because I don't think it's easy to teach something you don't understand. And quite frankly, all my life I was thinking, how great would it be? All these people have, like Byron Katie, she had an experience and had this work evolve, which has transformed millions of people. That's really great. But my first thought was, oh man, I bet that was a mistake. I bet that was meant for somebody else. I was in a big group at the time and I thought that lady looked super competent. I bet that's the one this was supposed to go to. But we all have our place. That's one of the things the principles has taught me too. It doesn't make any difference who you are, what you do. You are where you're supposed to be in this instant. That doesn't mean you can't go somewhere else. But if you're making toast this morning for breakfast, bring the divine love and joy there. How can you open your heart without an agenda when you see yourself in the mirror? How can you see yourself without filters, without judgment? That's been difficult for me to learn, and I'm still working on that one, actually.
It's amazing. And thank you so much for sharing that. And I know there's a lot more to the story, and we're going to list Diane's websites and beloveprinciples.org. And you've got all kinds of free content for people, whoever's interested in exploring this more, which is so generous of you. And so I'm still going back to the divine download piece. So what does it feel like when you have, I've had all kinds of weird spiritual experiences and I'm out there in the wetland and I'm meditating, I'm talking to horses and who knows what's happening. I'm like having my own little imaginary land that I live in. And it's it all feels fabulous, and that's all great. But what's different about a divine download? Like, how did that feel for you?
So it's happened to me, it's happened to me a couple times, never like this, but before, and there's one instance I actually talk about in my book, it feels like something is coming through me. That's what they felt like before. In this particular situation, it involved everything. I felt it physically in my body. It was very visual. I could see, I could hear. Everything. It was like I was above a scene and I was watching myself play out different vignettes in this vision. But I felt it in my body. That was really interesting because it was almost like a little buzz. Like I really don't have words for it. And afterwards, there was, I don't know if shock's the right word, but I mean, that doesn't happen every day, folks. So I was pretty quiet during the day. Shari can tell you that is not my norm. And actually, there was other things that happened, and they can see the video if they want at belovedprinciples.org. But I actually woke up the next day and was very ill for probably 2 weeks, lost my voice. I understand now sometimes when you've had a vibrational change, your physical body needs to realign. But I was just for a couple months, I was just like, do I tell anybody? Do I pretend this didn't happen? And again, that's my ego trying to rationalize what was going on. My heart the whole time was saying, it's okay. Here's what we do this week. Here's what we do that week. So I started utilizing each of those principles, like one a week I would concentrate on. Nobody knew I was doing this. It was just me and my little journal. And I would be given these ways to experience the work. So I just followed it. It wasn't always comfortable. And there was plenty of times that I just looked in the mirror and just said, you're nuts. You're nuts. Nobody is going to want to hear about this. And you just need to keep this to yourself. And I couldn't. I remember telling you and how supportive you were. It was just beautiful the way that it unfolded in retrospect. At the time, it was scary. It felt scary, quite frankly. And I understand that was my ego saying, no, you're already the weird chick. Don't get weirder. I mean, like, quite frankly, that's what was going on. That's what was going on. So it felt uncomfortable. But doesn't most growth feel uncomfortable?
Oh, yeah. Growth is not a comfortable process. I mean, it is anybody. We all know that. Even kids growing up, you have this. You feel all confident and everything. Next day, you're totally insecure, and then you're confident, you're insecure. Same thing happens in adulthood. You do this thing, and entrepreneurship. Yeah, I got this. This is great. I'm great success. Maybe not so much. Maybe not. Maybe not. So this brings me to this point around resilience. What do you mentioned meditation, and obviously that's a cornerstone of how you stay, I would say, quite sane. What does resilience mean to you? How do you continue to bounce back and be able to, I guess, accept and allow these amazing blessings that are coming into your life?
It's so interesting. The idea of spiritual resilience is coming up for me over and over again. And actually, I'm even in a mastermind for spiritual resilience rather. But that was a good slip of the tongue, because a lot of times it's resistance before it's resilience.
Yeah.
I think for me, part of it is my age. I'm a grandmother now. And when I look back at my life, I am so blessed to be very healthy. I realize, there's more than likely more time behind me than in front. So one of the things that I think about is, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? The other thing is just not taking this seriously, right? I'm just a vehicle for the work. That's it. I don't believe or intend to be a fit for everybody. There's so many wonderful teachers, just like you. There's just so many wonderful ways for people to discover their own truth. And I think that we're all vehicles for that, by the way. My 3-year-old grandson teaches me about spiritual truth every time I see him. The animals teach you, nature teaches us. So everybody has their part. So that's one thing, just realizing everybody is here for the benefit of everybody else. That's it. We're all one. We're here to learn and grow from each other, no matter how small that interaction might be. So that's one. Having my intent stay in that place as much as I can to be love every day, every moment, the best I can. And there's plenty of times, just ask my husband, where Diane is off the love train. She has fallen off. And then I just have to get back on again, the best I can. So embracing my humanness, and instead of trying to be some enlightened soul, which is great, I think we all actually at our souls already are enlightened, but instead of, being some avatar, for me, I just want to be the best, most loving human I can be. So just asking every day, love, what do you want me to know today? That just keeps me centered and not taking myself too seriously, as you can attest. You know,
That's so
as you
cool.
know.
So what did love want you to know today?
Oh shoot, I should have brought it. I should have brought it.
Not to put you on the spot or anything,
I
but
should have brought it. Every day there is a different message. Today was more about staying on the course and listening and following the lead of love, because there's many times that I'll be doing something and I will have that heart pull, literally go email this person, go pick up the phone, whatever it is. And then I'm like, yeah, I'll get to it. No, I need to follow the guidance when it's given to me. That works out better, smoother. And I don't mean better in that anything's a wrong choice. I just mean it's so much smoother. I just feel like I'm more on purpose. And I do want to just mention, it may seem, probably not to your folks, but to some folks, it may seem weird. How are you following guidance? I ask Google for information every day. I don't find that weird.
great point. Yep.
I mean, that's not a big deal. And I'm talking into a little box that finds information from I don't even know where. So how could we not have that our own internal GPS? Makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But it did take a while to develop that confidence. Not in me. Confidence isn't in me. Confidence is that energy that sustains, supports, and surrounds you, me, and everybody.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I was even thinking this morning, there was something someone said to me once, and I'm forgetting who it was, but probably more than one person, is choose what's choosing you.
Say
And,
yes.
and that really there are two things, the choose what's choosing you, and then what was the other one? Something about noticing the gifts. What are the gifts in every single situation? I'm thinking mostly now within the horse situation that I've had and have for a long, long time. And sometimes they don't seem so much like gifts. You get a little gift of a gigantic vet bill or some just terrible thing, or some whatever it is. You go out with one intention and it's so not like that. It's dangerous and this and that, whatever. And yet in every situation there are incredible gifts and an incredible teaching. And then choose what's choosing you. So even this morning, I went out to get lemon squeezy early in the morning, and Noble, who's in with lemon squeezy, he was right here with me. And Noble has an injury in his stop. He hasn't been worked in a while. But he was like, me, I need to be with you now. And it was, so we brushed, we just had a grooming session. I set him back out, and maybe I'll have time to work a squeezy later or whatever. But it reminded me of you, actually, because of this love thing. When I see Noble, I just see this incredible purity of love, and when it chooses you. So I feel what you're saying about, we all have to relate to this love driver in a different way. Whatever's meaningful for us is this allowing the love to pull you through, allowing as you said earlier, allowing the passion and the purpose to pull you through the hard times. And I loved what you said in the beginning, all about that, just following that and allowing it to draw you forward, to lead you. And because we don't have to do it alone. And I think that's something I want to ask you about. Being a solopreneur, meaning you're one person business. Granted, you have all kinds of subcontractor support as needed, but being a solopreneur is a fairly solitary endeavor. So how do you have how do you deal with that? Do you ever get lonely with that? Do you what is that for you? Is there anything versus working in maybe corporate or another thing? Does that affect you?
Well, sure. And just to piggyback on what you had mentioned about love is always choosing us. And it's just, are we listening and are we choosing love back? And I love the example that you just gave, because that is the divine spark in Noble, which is more like a bonfire, was choosing you for that particular beautiful moment in time this morning. And how great you said yes. This whole thing is an example of being an entrepreneur and saying yes to something that I never would have said yes to. as big a ham as I am in front of a camera, I never even like my picture taken. The idea that I have little live stream shows, or you came to my show that I did at the studio for a couple years, that's insane. But the opportunity kept coming up. The opportunity kept coming up. And one of the ways I now see that I allow myself to not be so lonely on my little Diane Island, even though I really do love the land of Shari, by the way, that's a great place to be, is to say yes and interact with people. Even now when it's more on Zoom, it's still saying yes to ways to remind myself that we are all one, we're all interconnected. I'm never by myself, even when it feels like it. The other thing as an entrepreneur that I shift to as much as possible, especially when things have not gone the way I thought they were going to go, which I have to say is quite often, by the way, realizing that I don't work for myself. With the kind of vision I have, or you have, or anybody that's watching, right? We're working for something bigger than us. So I imagine that I'm working for love. That's my boss. I'm working for love. And it just shifts the way that a particular obstacle may feel, especially when I'm here talking to myself, quite frankly, unless my cat happens to be around. Okay, love, how are we supposed to handle this? It's just a way for me to remember it's not my ego in charge. That's what usually gets me in trouble. It's how do I tap into the intelligence of my heart and then use my intellect to execute those plans. So it's really remembering I may be a solopreneur, but I'm not here by myself. I'm never here by myself. Love is always that intelligent CEO that I can call and get the direction that I need.
Love that. I'm a solopreneur, but I'm not here by myself.
Did you get it? Soul, S-O-U-L.
Right? Got the little goosies all over. I mean, that's right. That's so beautifully stated. Love, love, love that. All right. So, I mean, I could talk all day long. So tell us about Awake TV Network, because this is your latest emergence of awesomeness and visibility for someone who didn't want to have their picture taken, which is shocking. Tell us a little bit about that.
You know, that's a perfect example of the way things unfold when you are saying, show me how to serve. Just show me how to serve. I happened to be on a very small Zoom conference with a lady. She was one of the participants. I did not know her. She certainly seemed lovely, but neither she or I were doing a lot of presentations. I did a little one, but we didn't know each other. And just something afterwards said, reach out to that person. So I did, which is not necessarily super like me. And I just sent like a little message that said, I think it was over Facebook, hey, just want to let you know, really enjoyed meeting you on Zoom the other day. Good luck. See you around, whatever. And she sends me a message back and she says, you know what, that would be really, tell you what, why don't we just talk? Would you be open to a call? Okay. So I talked to this lady. We instantly hit it off. And she goes, hey, I'm a host on the Awake TV network. I didn't know what that was. You want to be on my show? Sure. So I'm on her show. Next thing I know, she's introduced me to the founder and I have a show. And I want to be really super clear. It's not because I'm Oprah Winfrey. It's because I'm saying yes, even to those things that are scary, even to those things that I don't even know what they are sometimes. Awake TV Network is a relatively new live stream service. It has I think 1,500 hours worth of programming. There's a heart math channel, and Shari, you and I know how we love us some heart math. Deepak's on there. And then what I really love is they've got regular people like me who have a message that they want to share. So it's just a lot of fun, and I can't wait till you're on there, which will just be in a couple weeks.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. I mean, you're just so amazing, so impressive, so incredible. I thank you so much. And you totally are. I mean, come on now. So the do you have any, I know we need to wrap up, so do you have any final closing words of wisdom for folks who are considering reinventing? Maybe they're going through the reinvention process and they're hitting some snags. They feel like they're really following that love, but they're getting smacked in the face by something. I mean, what advice would you give those folks?
What I would offer is first a reminder, we're always reinventing. We're always reinventing. And I would also say, find the practice that resonates with you now. Doesn't mean it's going to be the same a week from now, 10 years from now, but what resonates with you now to get beyond yourself, to go into your heart the way that works for you. You can meditate, you can do grounding, journaling, whatever, however that is. Listen to the guidance of your heart. And I also want to make sure that I say this. Very often, my guidance will say, go seek out this person. Go have a conversation here. I mean, I've had many guided sessions where it was like, you need a coach. You need this, you need that. So your guidance isn't, at least mine, I'll put it that way, hasn't been, it doesn't come on etched tablets. That's all done. It's never happened the way the Be Love principles happened, except for right there. But we're here to help and support each other. And when we can see each other as the divine sparks that we are, boy, life just gets more fun. It just gets more fun. And isn't that what we want?
Yes, indeed. It's what we want. And I am so, so, so happy to have your little spark in my life for so many years now, and generations and lifetimes hence. So thank you so much for being just such a wonderful goddess of light and love and joy and inspiration for sure. And we're going to put your websites and your contact information. What's the best way for folks to reach you?
Through my website, DianeHaworth.com, and you're going to have the right spelling out there. And just thank you for inviting me to do this. I love you so much. I appreciate what you do, the light you shine into the world. And life is just so much fun when you find wonderful partners like my buddy Shari to go through life with.
Oh, thank you so much, my friend. I feel exactly the same way. And thank you all for taking time to watch this today and get inspired with my good friend here. And we will see you the next time. So go be inspired, enjoy, and remember, every moment is an opportunity to reinvent. Thank you so much for coming by. Thank you so much, Diane. So wonderful to have you here. What an honor.